Hi, my name is Barry Sterling Mitchell. I produce the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings and the Bias Plus reports. Today is January 2nd, 2025. Benny,
Yes,
2025.
sir.
This is Ben and Barry on football.
What's going on out there, everybody? Hopefully everybody will have a great 2025. Happy New Year to everybody. Um, we're going to start off the show like we usually do, or I'm going to start off the show like I usually do with a couple of Who Would Have Thunk It's. I just have three that I thought were very interesting. Let me get these out of the way. Number one, the Buffalo Bills are the first team in this is I like these because this is stuff you don't necessarily think of. Some of them are like really fantastic and some of them aren't, but it's stuff that you just wouldn't ordinarily think of. The Buffalo Bills are the first team in NFL history to beat two 14 plus win teams in one season. They beat the Chiefs and the Lions.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty good. Here's the next one. Oh, well, the next one, I'm just going to go over this really, really fast because it's like it's a statistical thing. But what I have here is a comparison of Lamar Jackson's first 16 NFL starts and the statistics from that season compared to Jaden Magic Daniels' first 16 starts.
Uh-oh.
They are incredibly close.
Really?
Crazy close. Real quick, yardage. Lamar, 4,408 yards. Jaden, 4,394 yards. What was that? 10 yards difference? Total touchdowns. Lamar, 30. Jaden, 31. Interceptions thrown. Lamar, 8. Jaden, 9. Yards per attempt, 7.6 for Lamar, 7.5 for Jaden. Can't get no closer. And the record, now here's the difference. The record, Lamar was on a better team his first year, 13-3, and Jaden's 11-5. But still, you know what I mean? If not for Jaden, I doubt the Commanders would be 11-5.
Well, and again, that's more of a team record, So now
That's a team record, correct?
Defense in, and some of them early Ravens defenses were pretty good,
Correct. Yes, yes.
Wow, that is an.
But that's incredibly close. And I'm telling you, you call him Magic, I call him Lamar Jr. He's the closest thing to Lamar that's out there for real. And last but not least, let's talk about Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold. They are the first pair of ex-quarterback teammates in NFL history with 35 plus passing TDs in the same season for their new teams. So they actually were on the Carolina Panthers at the same time. Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is amazing, man. And when they finally got solid starting jobs, Mayfield with the Bucks, Darnold with the Vikings, that's what happened. So kudos to those two guys, both having really stellar seasons. And as we go into the postseason, we'll see how far it takes them.
I did get a little pushback on the name Magic from a comment and one on Facebook. Somebody was like, "There's only one Magic."
Oh, here we go.
And that's Magic Johnson. I said, well, you should hear what Magic Johnson has to say about Jaden Daniels.
Right. He's part owner of the team.
Of the Commanders.
Exactly.
I don't know if he would mind
that name. Guess what? If he's cool with it, you shouldn't have nothing to say. Now, I'm one. When people talk about LaDainian Tomlinson and they call him LT, I get a little because there's only one LT, especially me being a Giants fan. But even people that aren't Giants fans go, "But LT, you mean Lawrence Taylor?" So I get it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for that. Those are three things I'll have to take some give some additional thought to, man. And that's amazing. And me being somewhat of a less than a big Baker Mayfield fan, but I saw one post today and they were saying basically they're saying he's not the biggest, the fastest, or the strongest. They say he just plays every down like it's his last.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
you got
Hey,
to give
35 touchdowns ain't nothing to sneeze at, bro. 35 touchdowns in the
34 and a
season.
half of them went to Mike. No, I'm just joking.
That's part of what's making the season really great for him too. The fact that Mike Evans, I didn't check, he may have the majority, okay, but it's not a big majority. He's been getting the ball around. He's got the young kid McMillan. He had Godwin before he got hurt. He had Otten, the tight end, before he got hurt. So he's doing a great job, man. He's doing a great job.
Man, look, let me tell you, the stuff going on this week or last week with the teams and everything was just absolutely amazing. At the end of the beginning of the show, we always say, "Well, how was your numbers last week, Benny?"
I had a stellar weekend.
Oh, tell me about it.
69%, baby.
Oh, very nice, very nice.
Yes,
So,
indeed.
which one did you not get?
Let me see. Well, I picked the Steelers to upset the Chiefs, but I tell you what, I'm convinced now you won't hear me go against the Chiefs anymore. um,
Okay.
I picked the Broncos to beat the Bengals,
Mm-hmm.
and I just thought maybe they would run out of gas because the Broncos defense has been playing so well. That didn't work out too well for me. No way I picked the Giants, you know that, but they did win.
I thought
And
about you the entire time. I'm like,
yeah, yeah, and hold it. Not only did they win, but they looked impressive.
what
And it was
what did the quarterback say? We were just clicking.
that's I mean, it's not like it can't happen. You know what I mean? That's why they say any given Sunday. And it's not like they were playing the Titans or the Jaguars either. The
Yeah.
Colts were pretty good, but
Yeah.
what are you going to do?
No, you know.
And the only other one I missed was oh, that dumb thing I said about, and I'll say this later when we do the Bias Plus report. Remember, I was going through the whole if Hertz doesn't play,
Oh yeah.
yeah. What the heck was I thinking, man? I completely forgot about the Cowboys. They're on fumes right now. You think the Lions have a lot of injured players? The Cowboys are decimated,
What about
but you know,
okay. Well, yeah. You missed a couple that were right along with the Bias Plus reports. Missed on the Steelers, missed on the Broncos, missed on the Giants, missed on the Raiders, and missed on the Vikings. So out of those five, I wound up with a 0.68888 success ratio, rounded up to 69, right along with you.
there you go.
So not bad. And it was a bounce back from the 50% of the previous week. So,
That's a big bounce back. I was shocked at that 50%.
oh man, that was a big bounce back. But that's why I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna look at these and see if there's any particular time of season when the numbers are better or worse, if they go up or down.
Right.
Like what's gonna happen. He'll talk a little bit more about when we get to the Bias Plus reports, which talks about the matchups. When you got teams that are sitting their starters and all that.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, so that kind of messes with the numbers a little bit. Let's move on and let's look a bit at the Sterling net point power rankings. Yeah, man. Okay. That it right there? I believe it is. Boom. The Sterling net point power round. This would be for week 17 in the of the NFL season for years 2024 underscore 2025. got to put 2 years so I know what. I used to put 24, and then I didn't know if it was the 24 regular season or the or the 24 postseason. So I had to put both years so we know we're going from 1 year into the next. It finishes up in 2025. So what you have here, Benny, 1 through 16, our top four categories are A&P average net points, APF average points for, APA average points against, and average turnover differential, ATOD. And this is the top half. We will look at the bottom half also. Always giving love to our number one ranked teams. Again, we have Detroit coming in and average net points at number one at plus 12.5. I remind everybody that average net points and average turnover differential can be both positive and negative. For our leader in scoring, average points for, again, we have the Detroit Lions at 33.3 points per game. That ain't no joke, man. Number one, and defensive scoring average points against would be those LA Chargers at 17.6 points a game allowed. So them guys are not giving up much in terms of points. And back at number one, after sharing it with Pittsburgh for a while, Benny, the Buffalo Bills, and it's interesting hearing media recognize the improvement in the turnovers for Buffalo and more specifically for Josh Allen. So,
right.
Yeah, so congratulations to the number one ranked teams in our four categories. Interestingly, and I didn't color like I usually do, but I do want to mention that in your scoring, there's we have what I call ranking differential. And that's where you have a team that is high in one category in the top half or in the top 8, and yet in the next category they're not in the top half. So you got some ranking differential. When I go back and look at, let's see, the rankings, I see 3 teams in a row. That would be Tampa Bay, Washington, and Cincinnati, 4, 5, and 6 on offense, scoring 29.7, 28.9, and 28.3. And 28 is my magic number for scoring. So you got 3 teams in the top 6 for scoring. But yet, when you look over on defense, in the top half, you do not see those teams. So I did want to just mention that because we're going to take a look at the bottom half. But yeah, those are the 3 teams that aren't there in the top: Tampa Bay, Washington, and Cincinnati. So in your top 8 in terms of net points, we go from Detroit, Buffalo, Philly, Baltimore, Green Bay, Minnesota, Tampa Bay, Kansas City at 8. That's your top 8 right there. Now, Washington, the Chargers fall a little bit below that. They're part of the top maybe 10. Yeah, not maybe. They're part of the top 10. You see Denver at 4.8, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, 2.2 net points for Pittsburgh. And then everybody else is getting down into the fractions. So, and before you get into the negative territory there, you can see for 15 and 16. Scoring-wise, Benny, your top 8, Detroit, Buffalo, Baltimore, Tampa Bay, Washington, Cincinnati, Philly, and Green Bay. And right below Green Bay is their nemesis, the Minnesota Vikings, coming in at 9. So those are your top 8 in scoring. And defense, we have the Chargers. Now, the Chiefs have actually moved up to second place, Benny. They were not that high.
They've been playing. They're climbing the ladder, man. They're getting better every week.
Which is kind of scary.
Coach Spags has got them boys clicking right now.
Man, look. Now, Philly, having their big win, they moved up to third place in terms of defensive scoring. Minnesota, right there behind Philly at 18.8. Philly's 18.1. Kansas City is 18 points per game. Then you have Denver, Green Bay, Pittsburgh, and look at Miami's defense up there in the top 8. Tied with Detroit, much less. So really, it's Detroit and Miami at 8-9 or 9-8, however you want to look at it. But you're ranging between 17.6 and 20.8 points per game for that top group. And then the turnovers, again, Buffalo at 1, Pittsburgh at 2, Green Bay at 3, LA Chargers and Detroit tied at 0.7. And again, these are positive numbers, which means this is the number that you get when you subtract their takeaways from their giveaways. Minnesota, we said 7, and Houston coming in at 6. But you got Philly, Minnesota, Houston, all in a 3-way tie at 0 point. That's plus 0.6 average turnover differential. So those are the top half, Benny. Before we take a quick look at the bottom half, any further comments?
When you talk about ranking differential, I'm sure that some people, their mind may go directly to the Detroit Lions. But in fact, the Detroit Lions are top 8 in APF and in APA. Amazingly so, considering that everybody continues.
They're tied. They're tied for 8. That's right, with Miami. Yeah.
Especially since everybody keeps harping on the fact that their offense is so great and they've taken so many injuries on the defense, they barely have 3 or 4 actual starters out there.
Yeah.
So you would think that they would be much lower, but in fact, those non-starters who are now starters, those backup players, are playing extremely well, which is a testament to the players themselves and to the defensive coordinator, Aaron Glenn, that's got them, still playing extremely well. That's the main thing I see. Oh, and in what to me is actually our power rankings, which would be our average net points list. As you look down the list and stop at number 13, I believe that everybody from 13 up has clinched or is about to clinch and most likely will clinch a spot in the playoffs come the end of this weekend. And the next teams, I should stop that at 11 at Denver. Cincinnati's got a shot. Pittsburgh's already clinched, but they're teetering on either winning their division or dropping severely in seeding, maybe down to 5 or 6, and having to go on the road for the entire postseason. Seattle is out. Arizona's out. Miami's still got a glimmer of hope, and Houston has already clinched, and the Rams. So anything below the Rams at 18, we can forget about those teams.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll take a quick look down here. But you mentioned something, and I want to just also say that I'm hearing a lot because we got this weekend coming up, Detroit, Minnesota, right?
Yes.
And the same situation happens with Detroit. Winning yes. 1, losing you're like 5.
Correct. So at this point, the question is, one of them teams is going to win and one's going to lose. Who's best prepared to go on the road and do damage?
Aren't they both dome teams?
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
Well, I'll say this much. According to the Detroit's coach, they don't care where they play. They'll go anywhere.
And I don't think Minnesota cares either, but they're not verbalizing it like that. Now, we'll say that the weather wasn't super bad, but they did beat Green Bay twice. And one of those games was up there.
Yeah.
But sure. I think Detroit swept them too. So the only other, I don't think weather's going to affect either one of these teams. I'll tell you the truth. The way I've seen them play in their road games, they don't care turf, grass, rain, snow, doesn't matter.
Well, I will say this much about Sam Darnold in Minnesota, especially as an ex-Niner who backed up Pretty. The one thing I will say about Sam Darnold is I love his arm strength. There's no throw that he can't make.
Absolutely.
Some of his throws are just like on the money, strong, and you got to give that to him. He's really doing a great job for them. All right, let's take a look at the bottom half real quick, Benny. We won't spend a bunch of time on these guys, but they're still there and they're part of the fray. As you can see on the net points, we're now down in the solid negative land, and the same thing goes for average turnover differential, where you see Houston, the Rams, my beloved Niners at 19 at negative 1.5. So everybody's team is somewhere down there. Benny, at least you're not at the bottom there. You're at 29th with your New York Giants. Carolina's holding on to that 32nd place like it's worth some money.
Hey, we got pride. We got pride.
I was surprised to see Cleveland at the bottom of the scoring list there at 15.5 points per game. I thought they were not there earlier. That was kind of the purview. Well, your Giants were there last week, but your Giants have moved up. New England is there, Chicago. So those are some of the teams. And Carolina got off the floor relative to scoring, moving up to 27th, but they're tied with Jacksonville and Tennessee. Again, we like to talk about neighborhoods, so that's where Carolina, they're in the Tennessee-Jacksonville neighborhood right about now. Defensively, Carolina is 32nd place, giving up 31 points per game. Dallas is in next to last place, giving up 27.8 points per game. When's the last time you saw that, Benny?
Yeah.
I'm telling you. Your Giants are 23rd in scoring defense. Not too bad. Right behind my Niners at only 0.4 difference between my Niners and your Giants. So we're both down there in the bottom half. And then again, over in the turnover differential, you've got a couple ties. You got 18 through 21 tied at 0.3, Tampa Bay, Indianapolis, Atlanta, and the Jets. Then you've got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-way tie from 22nd down to 26. Arizona, Carolina, the Giants, Seattle, and Dallas. Oh, I'm sorry, there's another one. My Niners all at minus 0.4 average turnover differential. So, yes, that's about where everybody has finished up the next to the last game of the season. So next week when we do the rankings, Betty, these will be the final regular season rankings for the NFL. That will be next week. And you can always visit us at www.sterlingnppr.com. Any last comments on the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings?
Not really. I'm good to go.
All right. What follows in Net Point Power Rankings is when we take these rankings and we begin to set up matches. Those matches will basically compare average net points and average turnover differential. We have a super secret formula for calculating that stuff out and getting what we call a bias plus score that will favor one team or the other. The basis of the score is that if one team, let's just take the top two teams here. All right. You got Detroit and Buffalo. Now, we know what actually happened earlier in the season, but if we were to do a matchup today and looking at these teams with Detroit having an average net points of 12.5 and Buffalo at 10.3, that's a 2.2 average net point differential that favors Detroit. So it's almost that simple. The differential in terms of turnovers is a little more complicated, requires a little more math, but it basically follows the same concept. So the team with the greater net points is generally favored. Again, this is not gambling advice. This is just the way we look at the numbers. But at a 69% clip last week, those numbers are looking pretty good between Mr. Dickerson there and the Bias Plus report. So let's get to the Bias Plus reports for NFL Week 18 of the 2024-2025 season. And Benny, let me say Happy New Year to all the people who support us and watch the show. 2025 is coming in with a blast. and we're going to start it off with a doubleheader on this coming Saturday. You will see that I have win-loss records included with the teams. I hadn't really done that all season. I just want to see how that looked, especially right now. So we have a 3-13 Browns at the 11-5 Ravens. The bias plus score of 24.2 favors the Ravens. So there's a big difference in the net points between these two, Benny. Let me just simply say, as I look at the bias plus reports for these two teams, you got the Browns with the 31 ranked net points against the Ravens with the 4th ranked net point. And
that explains that big number.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Browns with the 32nd ranked offense against the Ravens' 13th ranked defense, and the number 3 ranked offense of the Ravens against the 25th ranked defense of the Browns. So that's your setup. What do you got?
Well, let's talk about Cleveland's been pretty messy here lately. Right now, the starting quarterback is Dorian Thompson-Robinson. He was horrendous in their loss to Miami. He was a terrible 24-47 for a lousy 170 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception, 1 lost fumble, and he got penalized 3 times for intentional grounding. I can't remember a game where I saw a quarterback have intentional grounding called on him 3 times in the same game. Now, they're going to have to go to Baltimore, play the Ravens. The Ravens actually brutalized the Houston Texans on both sides of the ball in their game. Lamar only threw the ball 15 times, but he threw 2 touchdowns out of those 15. He ran the ball 4 times, only 4 times, but on those 4 times, he gained 87 yards and another touchdown. Great day for Lamar. Derrick Henry did his thing, got his 27 carries, which I love, turned him into 147 yards and another touchdown for him. And the defense actually seems to be rounding itself into shape, getting better. That's a good thing, especially at this time of year, going into the postseason. I don't think the Ravens will have too much trouble handling the Browns.
Going with the bias, eh?
Yes. And, oh, by the way, they do have something to play for, I would say, because
they being who, the Browns?
The Ravens.
Oh, the Ravens. Okay, what do they got to play?
Yeah. I don't think that division crown has been sewed up yet.
Oh.
It's still out there.
That's probably the scariest part of this whole matchup. It's division.
Right. But there's nothing scary for the Ravens. They're going to come with guns blazing because with that division crown comes the first round bye. They're not going to let that get away.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm with you there. That all makes sense. It's just that division games get to be so weird, and all of a sudden you look up and the Ravens are in a tight game. You're like, wait a second, it wasn't supposed to be like this. All right, going with the bias, going with the Ravens, Benny. But that just kicks off Saturday. That's not the do all and end all. Hey, by the way, you like my little background there?
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
Yeah, AI generated, Benny. I'm gonna have an AI master certification soon. I use AI for everything. I just finished looking on the AI. I was looking at investments and I noticed that Pepsi was at a 52-week low.
Uh-huh.
I went to AI. I'm like, what's going on? AI gave me 5 good reasons. I'm like, oh, snap. So I had to send that into my investment club members who are in charge of it, Pepsi. Like, what y'all doing? Y'all sleeping at the wheel here, All right. The second game, Bengals at 8-8 at the Steelers 10-6.
Right. The other half of the AFC North. Another division game with a division crown still up in the air. So excuse me?
Bias plus score of 2.3 favors the Steelers, Benny.
Yes, yes, that is true. 10-6 as opposed to 8-8. I'm not very surprised at that, but it seems to be two teams that might possibly be going in different directions. Now, the very, very scary Cincinnati offense still has them on the bubble, meaning, yes, they still have a chance to make the postseason. But I think a few things have to happen now. Last week against the Broncos, tough defense. I picked the Broncos to win that game, but I was incorrect. Joe Burrow was amazing. 39 of 49, 412 yards, 3 touchdowns. All three went to T. Higgins, a guy that they put on the franchise tag this year. Oh boy, his bank account's going to be jumping next year. And they had no turnovers. And I'm sorry, Higgins did have a fumble, but Joe Burrow had no turnovers. And he basically took his arm and lifted the whole team and carried them to a 30-24 overtime win. It's all about Joe Burrow, man. People are going to look at their record and say, why are people saying Joe Burrow should be MVP? This is why. Games like that. Now, the Steelers, they clinched the playoff berth quite a while ago, quite a few weeks ago. The problem is that their loss to Kansas City last week was their third in a row. And the prospect of being on the road through the playoffs should be a very scary proposition for them. Now, the crazy thing is, crazy thing for Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, and Baltimore is nobody has claimed the division title yet, like I just said. But this weekend, somebody will be crowned. Between these two games, somebody's going to be crowned the AFC North champion, and that team will get a first round bye. Whew, boy, I tell you, this is going to be a toughie.
Let me say this real quick.
Yeah.
It throw it out there, but I will. Number one, you're looking at, in terms of net point rankings, the Bengals at 12th and the Steelers at 13th. In terms of average net points, the Bengals are 2.3 and the Steelers are 2.2. Yeah. Now, what you're talking about is the 6th-ranked offense of the Bengals against the 7th-ranked defense of the Steelers.
Sheesh.
The big difference is the 14th-ranked offense of the Steelers putting up, 22.7? The 29th-ranked defense of the Bengals allowing 26.1.
It's almost the same.
Well, yeah, they're scoring 22 and they're giving up 26. So, yeah, these two, I have to give it to them. 2 division games on a Saturday, 2 games that are with teams that are like this close, and yet the accounts have to be settled this weekend. All accounts.
Yeah, they do. The question to me is, can the Steelers defense make up for some of the shabbiness or the shabbiness that's been shown lately by the Pittsburgh offense? And can the Cincinnati offense, well, I'm not going to say can they, because the Cincinnati offense has already proved that they can drag their defense along. So I'm going to pick Cincinnati in this one.
Yeah, I mean, that's understandable. And, I had said even about Russ last week that they need to be a little more efficient. Russ has to hit those underneath passes, get the ball out a little more on time. And then if they continue to run the ball, those deep shots will be there. But you just can't turn around and give the ball back to the Bengals, or you will be going along with Ben's prediction relative to the bias. But Ben's I
got another one. Another one wasn't personally my prediction, but I told you, a guy I talked to at the gym that's a Steelers fan. Remember when I said, you laughed. Remember when I said, he said, Justin Fields got the first 6 games, and then this was his theory back then, that Russ would get 6, then they would decide who's going to carry him for the rest of the season. Guess what? They'd have won at least one of those 3 losses in a row if Justin Fields had been the quarterback, in my estimation. And I saw the guy today, and he said, watch when the playoffs start. Don't be surprised if Justin Fields gets in there. If he either starts a game or comes in relief during a game.
Ah, man, that's interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Now, I could see him coming in certain situations, Benny.
Well, we always say that, and there have been some, but they've been few and far in between. So we know they got that in their bag. But I'm talking about coming in like, Russ, go sit down.
Well, yeah, that's a little bit different than what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking of
Right.
red zone, Benny. Where
Okay. And
there,
maybe it starts that way.
check this out. I have the list of red zone scoring percentage, TDs only. The Pittsburgh Steelers are 30th
Yeah.
in TD scoring in the red
In the
zone.
red zone.
Now, just to give you a reference point, I'm gonna ask you to guess. Who's number one in scoring TDs in the red zone for 2024?
Scoring TDs in the red zone in 2024. I'm going to go crazy wild guess here. Cincinnati.
Cincinnati is fourth.
Ooh, red zone touchdowns.
Red zone touchdown.
It's got to be the Eagles.
How about Baltimore?
What? Okay. All right. All right.
Baltimore's one at 74.19%. Buffalo's number two at 70.77%.
Makes sense.
Detroit is three at 68.12%.
And the Eagles are?
The Eagles, believe it or not, 14th,
Really?
57.81%. Well, as long as you don't come too close to the goal line, so they can.
Yeah, I mean, I know he's got at least 10 or 12 tush pushes.
Yeah, it's the tush pushes that, and again, just to throw another little wrinkle in that conversation, I'm sure Saquon can't be completely happy with getting all the way down to the one and then having to push Jalen Hurts.
I said that last week.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I was like, people that picked him in fantasy are probably really happy at the season that he had, but it could have been much better.
Oh man, I'm telling you.
Could have been much better.
Conversation. Yeah. I mentioned Barry Sanders at that time.
Yeah.
All right, Benny. So you're going to go against the bias.
Yes.
Already going with the Bengals. You do not believe that the Steelers offense can get it done.
No.
Okay. All right. Here we go. That was an interesting conversation. You ready to move on to Sunday?
Yes, sir.
And you notice, Benny, there was no Thursday night game.
Oh, that's right. Those two games are Saturday, I believe, right?
Saturday games. Yeah, and they flexed those games into Saturday too. So the NFL is manipulating us. They're getting our head all messed up. We gotta watch now. We can't help but watch.
Right.
And AFC North gets settled on Saturday. All right. Bias Plus reports. Week 18, Panthers at 4-12 at the Falcons at 8-8. Bias Plus score of 11 favors those Falcons. And Benny, you know it was the Falcons Washington, which was my intriguing game of the week last week. But we're looking at the Falcons coming in ranked 20th in net points, and the Panthers ranked 22nd. We both said that, 32nd. We both said that Bryce looked a little bit better. Their offense is 27th, but the Falcons' defense is 20th, and the Panthers' defense is 32nd, while the Falcons' offense is 17th. So even with Penix Jr., it's looking like a Falcons win here.
Well, you say even with Penix Jr., I think he's handled himself pretty well considering he ain't played all season. And
I think he handled himself very well because he here in the Commanders last week.
In fact, if what I just said about the Steelers turns out to be true and Justin Fields comes in, he'd do well to play as well as Penix has. And he's got a few starts under his belt already. Penix had none. So
that is true. But Penix is being pegged as more of a pocket passer.
Yeah, he's not a dual threat guy. He wasn't a dual threat in college.
Supposedly he's pretty fast though.
I don't know. I have to go back and look at it. I don't know. Did he run the 40 in the combine?
I don't know, but that's what I've
I mean, he ain't. Let's put it this way: he ain't slow.
okay.
Okay, but he is not a dual threat quarterback by definition.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So okay. So again, we're talking division matchup. Panthers obviously are eliminated at 4-12. However, the Falcons at 8-8 are on the bubble, so they still got a chance. Last game of the season. Now, let's talk about the Panthers first. They went to Tampa Bay with a chance of playing spoiler, but they quickly got reminded who's the big dog in this division. With Chuba Hubbard injured, the entire offense revolved around Bryce Young and his wide receiver core. Now, he did throw 2 touchdown passes, both of them to Adam Thielen, but they only totaled 203 yards through the air, and his defense got trampled. Oh, my God, the Panthers' defense, it's a wonder they're not all in the hospital this week, man. I'm telling you, they got trampled.
Really?
They got trampled on the ground and shredded through the air by the Buccaneers offense. And Carolina got routed 48-14. The numbers were so lopsided I didn't even record them. I could look them up though, but it was really, really bad. Now the Falcons, who will be the home team, had a chance to possibly win the NFC South title. Them and the Bucs have kind of been going up and down like this all season. But they needed to defeat Washington on the road. Tough task. In the first half, they actually gashed the Commanders' defense on the ground, especially. Bijan Robinson had 82 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground on just 13 carries. So he looked like he was on his way to a big game and that they were going to really depend on their running game to carry them. They were up 17-7 at halftime, and then inexplicably, they just flat out stopped running the ball. I do not understand these teams sometimes. Anyway, Michael Penix, in only his second start of the season, brought Atlanta back to tie the score 24, and they missed a chance to win it in regulation when Riley Patterson, these field goal kickers, he tried a 56-yarder. It was on schedule, but it fell short. It was going right down the middle, but it fell short. He didn't have enough leg on it. After that, they lost the game 30-24. So at this point, Atlanta has one last-ditch effort to try to make the playoffs. I think if they win, there's some other things that have to happen, though. So I can't guarantee that they're going to get into the postseason, let alone win the division. But I believe they'll do what they have to do to handle what they can handle, and they will win this game against the Panthers.
All right. Going with the bias, going with the Falcons with a bias plus score of 11. What's that? Touchdown, a 2-point conversion, and a field goal. So that's tough to overcome. Let's see what we got next here. We were talking about the Commanders. Excuse me. And the Cowboys. 11-5 Commanders, 7-9 Cowboys, bias plus score of 14.7. Favors. Look, come on, Betty. You got to give it to
No way.
Commanders.
Not going to happen.
Go ahead.
So Commanders clinch. Obviously, the Cowboys are eliminated. Oh boy, I tell you that Dallas situation is something else. But anyway, I don't know what I was thinking last week when I suggested that the Cowboys had a chance to win this game against the Eagles. The team is ravaged with injuries, and whatever little fight they had left in them, the Eagles quickly took it away, and they destroyed them 41-7. So much for the Cowboys. Now, Washington took Atlanta's playoff hopes out of their hands. If they had lost, I believe. No, I'm sorry. I'm thinking about something else. But anyway, yeah, Atlanta had their shot to win the division, but they would have had to beat Washington, and I think the Bucs would have had to lose. So that's out the window now. Jaden Daniels did a damn good Lamar Jackson imitation, passing for 220. These sound like Lamar numbers. Just listen to this. Passed for 227 yards and 3 touchdowns. That means he was fairly accurate. He led his team in rushing with 127 yards on 16 carries. So he alone punched them through the air and on the ground. He did throw one interception, but other than that, he protected the ball very well. He escaped the pocket, made plays with his arm as well as his legs. And to win the game in overtime, he marched the Commanders 70 yards in 12 plays for the winning score, and they won 30-24. I cannot see the Cowboys even putting up a good effort here. I'm going to go with Washington to win this one. I'm going with the bias.
Going with the bias, going with the Commanders. Benny, I want to say two things about the Commanders, first of all, basically about Jaden Daniels. Number one, I think you're going to have to now put the adjective of tough on Jaden Daniels, because I saw him take some hits.
Yes, and he's not a big guy.
And he's not a big guy. He got up and kept on going Lamar-like. Like you said, Lamar Jr. And then also what I had not been hearing, and it's funny. Sometimes I think when I think of something, and now next thing I know, I see it in the universe pop up, right? But I'm saying to myself, I hear a lot of lauding of Jaden Daniels.
Right.
And for, what's their head coach name again? For the Commanders?
Quinn.
But I had not been hearing a lot about the offensive coordinator for the Commanders.
Oh, Mr. Kingsbury.
Kingsbury, right, exactly. And, you go back and you look at his history, and he kind of did the same thing with Kyler when he first came in.
Yes.
He was strong with Kyler.
We actually talked about this. It was way early in the season, though.
Okay. Well, he's done it again, man. He's done it again. And all of a sudden, his name is popping up as a potential head coach. And I just happened to see an article where they were saying he's not knocking himself out to get there. And then I didn't know, kind of like with what's going on with Russell, Kingsley's still being paid by Arizona. So the getting a salary.
Once that started to go bad, I think they figured they'd just cut their losses and get him out of there. They had other plans. But I think we had an earlier conversation in reference to him having coached Daniels in college. So if you remember, he dropped back and not coached him in college, but having the type of system or being the type of quarterback or being the type of coordinator, to have a lot of success with dual threat quarterbacks because of what he had starting out with Kyler. But I believe that what he learned about how his offense worked with Kyler and how he could have made it better is what's helping him do a lot better with Jaden Daniels. Obviously, they're two different guys. They run a little differently. They throw the ball a little bit differently. They're different size and all that. Not a big difference in size.
Yeah.
But I believe that he learned some of the stuff because as far as I know, he basically brought a college offense straight to Arizona because he felt, hey, I got Kyler Murray. I can make this work.
Right.
But the mistakes that he made, the things that didn't work, I think he was able to tweak them and come back with his redesigned offense, and it's working really well for Daniels.
Okay. All right. Rich, a chance to improve and do better the next time around. So
right. Head coach is Dan Quinn.
Dan Quinn, exactly. I was saying much about him, but nothing about the offensive coordinator. So I wanted to give him a little shout out there because he's behind all of this. We're giving all these other. Matter of fact, Benny, once the season's over, we're going to have to go back and take a look at our brain trusts.
Yeah.
Maybe give them some grades for the 2024-2025 season ahead of setting up that brain trust for the upcoming season that's going to be happening 2025-2026. But for right now, you are going with the bias and going with the Commanders. You sure you ain't going with the Cowboys, Benny? You sure?
I'm sure this time. I don't know. I had a brain fart or something last week. I don't know what the heck I was thinking about.
All right. Well, we got the Bears at 4-12 going to visit the Packers at 11-5 with a bias score of 12.9 favoring those Packers, Benny. So much conversation about the Bears, and I just keep going back to when what's the name was there still there as the court. Justin Fields was still there. I didn't like the coaching then, and people don't seem to like the coaching now, Benny.
Nah, I thought things were going to improve when they fired the head coach and they made the offensive coordinator the interim coach. And I think the first game out, they actually won that game, if I'm not mistaken. And I thought there were going to be brighter days ahead for the Bears. Unfortunately, they kind of went the same way as who's the other team that promoted the offensive coordinator? No.
You're not thinking about the Jets.
I'm thinking about the Jets. They promoted, they promoted the offensive coordinator, right, to head coach, and he's unable to handle both jobs, and the offense suffered. We got the same thing going on here with the Bears, as far as I can tell.
Right.
So to say that they're struggling is a bit of an understatement, to tell you the truth. They're looking a mess right now. Caleb Williams has been sacked a league-leading 67 times. Brutal. The offense just can't sustain drives, let alone put points on the board. And they lost to the Seahawks, who themselves are struggling, in a 6-3 game. That was the score. 6-3. Crazy.
I remember watching that game going, I don't think I want to fight sleep to stay up and watch this.
Yeah, it was kind of hard to watch. Now, after losing to the Vikings in Minnesota 27-25, the Packers have now lost to the top three teams in the NFC. In fact, they are 0-5 against the top three teams in the NFC after losing to the Eagles and getting swept by the Lions and the Vikings. So this is some tough losses, but they're very good teams. In this one, they went down 27-10 before making a furious comeback in the fourth quarter. They had to dig their way out of a 28-0 hole the last time they played the Vikings, though. So it's they fell victim the same way. Fell behind late, tried to come back late, or fell behind early, tried to come back late, and then the Vikings just held them off. So, if somebody says, if the Packers get another shot at the Vikings, do you think you can beat them? The only thing I could say is, well, it is tough to beat the same team three times, but I don't see it. Anyway, I do see it for this game. The Packers will beat the Bears.
Bias score of 12.9 favors the Packers. Benny's going with the bias, going with the Packers. Jaguars at Colts. 4-12 Jaguars, 7-9 Colts. Bias score 6.1 favors the Colts. I don't know, Benny. I'm reading Anthony Richardson talking about he's in so much pain. He's got to crawl around. He can't even walk. Did you see that?
He was walking around on the sideline last week.
Well, he said something about having a back injury or something that's been plaguing him since high school or something like that.
Actually, he's got multiple injuries, I think. He's got like a knee, a back. He's got a couple things. But I did see him on the sideline in street clothes. He didn't look any worse for wear. They didn't keep the camera on him so I could see if he was limping. But, he's pretty banged up, supposedly.
Okay.
So I don't – they've actually been eliminated, so it doesn't really matter. Neither one of these teams have anywhere to go. But the Jags kind of surprised me last week. They beat division rival Titans 20-13. I think I called for the Titans to win that game. Offensively, both teams were evenly matched, but the Jaguars' defense was more impressive with 3 sacks, 3 quarterback hits, 6 tackles for loss, and 6 passes defensed, which is a lot better than their defense had been playing up to that point. But they found a team they could beat up on, and they did that. So they beat the Titans. Now, the Colts, this one was surprising. The Colts needed to beat the Giants, and then they would have had to win again this weekend to secure a playoff spot. But they couldn't beat the Giants, and now they're eliminated. Ha, ha, ha. It was a hard-fought battle, But the Giants played impressively. They beat them 45-33. Now, offensively, the Colts put up winning numbers. If I just gave you these stats, you'd think they probably won. Joe Flacco threw for 330 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jonathan Taylor ran 32 times for 125 yards and 2 touchdowns. Problem is, Flacco threw the ball threw 2 INTs, and he lost a fumble. That's 3 turnovers just on Joe Flacco alone. And the Colts defense was putrid. Had to be putrid for the Giants to look that good, I guess. Colts defense recorded 0 sacks.
Clicking, man. It was clicking.
0 sacks and 1 quarterback hit on the very stationary Drew Lock. Come on now. Come on now. But yeah, they were clicking without any big time pass rush. Drew Lock was clicking. So that's what happened. Oh, yeah. That's what happened. That being said, the Colts are still better than the Jaguars. I'll take the Colts.
Going with the bias, going with the Colts.
Hard to get excited about a game like that.
Yeah. Well, that's what happened at the last game of the season, you know. That's why I was saying the motivations change. A little more difficult to use the point scenario because that's all in the past, but it is what it is. Now, talking about opposite numbers here, the Bills at 13-3, the Patriots at 3-13. Look at that bias, 26.7 favoring the Bills.
Patriots are at home. I won't do them any good. Now, this is a game. This is a game we're going to have to be careful of because I'm sure the Patriots coach, I don't think he's afraid for his job. I'm not sure he's on the hot seat because supposedly the owner really loves him. But I'm sure he'd like to go out with a win under his belt after the terrible season that they've had. And the Bills could possibly and probably be resting people. So this might turn out to be a more interesting game than it looks like off the bat. But we can thank the football gods, or I'll thank the football gods, that Drake May's trial by fire, as I call it, is almost over. He's proven to be a far better athlete than I thought, though. He really has. He's been running the ball some. He's been making plays outside the pocket. I'm happy for him. I think he's going to serve the Patriots well, but they got a long way to go besides him. But at least they have a quarterback of the future. I think he's got all. Yeah.
Throw this in real quick. Just so happened, I got the TV on behind me, and first things first, and they're saying, should the Pats want to beat the Bills, Mayo is on a mindset of holding the number 1 pick. I've never gone into a game not wanting to win.
That's right. That's right. That's fan talk. You can't. Come on, he can't. But if they don't win, even if the Bills, because who's the Bills' backup? Is it Trubisky?
I do believe, yeah.
Okay, the Patriots are so bad that he may not even be able to Trubisky this game up. That's how bad they are. I heard the commentator said the Patriots probably have the worst roster in football right now. Yeah. So if Trubisky can beat them, I wouldn't be shocked. Wow. And then nobody will blame him for tanking because it's Buffalo. You know, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Anyway, they got mollywopped by the Chargers 40-7. So they've never had a chance in that one. Now, the Buffalo Bills, they did clinch the number 2 seed in the AFC, so they're sitting pretty. They're kind of like the Eagles. They don't really have anything else really to play for. They beat the Jets 40-14. They also won their 5th consecutive AFC East title, and they set a single-season franchise record for total points for a season, 509, and total touchdowns for a season, 63, and that will go up after this weekend's game, both those numbers, I'm sure. So, yeah, I don't think they'll be able to Trubisky it up. I'm going to go ahead and pick the Bills, even with backups playing.
Even with backups should be the Bills. All righty, Benny. What we got next here? There you go. The 3-13 Giants at the 13-3 Bills. Same situation like
Eagles.
Bias plus score of 22 favors those Eagles. And we had the conversation. We can take a second if you want to jump back, because we never did get back to it to talk about the Saquon situation in terms of him going for the record. But I'll let you take control of this, and then we'll figure out how we want to handle that.
Okay, so let's see what we got here now. Okay, the Giants, let's get them out the way. They got a 45-33 win over the Colts, and they dashed the Colts' playoff hopes by actually playing as if they actually had a chance to make a playoff spot themselves. That's how good they looked. Now, you might say, or probably should say, that the Colts defense didn't basically show up. But the fact that even though the Colts defense didn't play well, the Giants did look pretty good on offense. Obviously, well, I can't say obviously. I don't want to speak for other Giants fans. We've been going through a lot of turmoil this season. But for me, it was pretty refreshing watching them have success on the field after a 10-game losing streak. So that was nice. I enjoyed watching that game. And there was still some intrigue because, like I said, Flacco was playing pretty well and Jonathan Taylor was running over people. But the Giants actually got it done. Now, the Eagles hammered the Cowboys and won the NFC East division title. They are now locked into the number 2 seed in the NFC. I must say, and this, I mean this in all sincerity, with Jalen Hurts still in concussion protocol and Kenny Pickett having to leave the game after he got hit and aggravated his rib injury, third stringer Tanner McKee looked very impressive. Being inactive for most of the season, he seemed poised and well prepared for the moment. I have to say kudos to Kellen Moore and the Eagles coaching staff. When you're inactive, you do not dress for the game, okay? Also, if they plan to make you inactive and or you are the third string quarterback, your reps are capped severely in practice. Now, I got a few more reps once they knew that Hurts wasn't going to play and he was going to move up to number 2. But to have him that prepared, the kid looked good, man. He looked sharp. Not only has he not played, he hasn't even dressed for most of the season. And he came out there ready and firing. I got to give it to him. I don't know how good he actually is, but he looked darn prepared for that game.
Funny thing, the friend of the show, worst Eagle fan in history.
Oh, God.
Actually been saying that he was waiting for Tanner McKee. He actually thought he would be a better quarterback than Pickett, Kenny Pickett.
And when did he tell you that? Last week? After the game?
Before the game. It was before the game.
It was before the game?
I got to give it to him. I give it to him, you know.
All right, we'll give him that one.
Well, you know what they say about the blind squirrel, so.
he's still the worst fan in the world.
Yeah, he's still worst Eagle fan ever, but you know.
Ever.
He was hating so much on Kenny Pickett that it was like, okay, Tanner McKee, he looks better. I don't know how he thought that because like you said, he ain't played worth a split.
it was more his hatred for Pickett. They could have said that the third stringer is Joe Schmo, and he would have been like, you know what? I think Joe Schmo is better than Pickett.
Joe Schmo's the one.
Anyway, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say the Eagles' backups will lose to an inspired Giants team. Hey, what the hell, man? I don't think they can drop any lower in the draft, to tell you the truth. They're sitting at number 4 right now. So if they win this game and they get 4 wins, it might drop them a little bit lower. But at this point, it's not looking good to get Cam Ward or Shador. So what the hell?
Well, you still got what's his name out there? What's the dual threat from Colorado?
I said Shador. Shador's not a dual threat. What are you
Oh,
talking about, Travis Hunter?
yeah.
Get out of here. If they don't take a quarterback, I'll go up there and burn the facility down myself. Come on now.
Oh, that's right. They do need to pick a quarterback, don't they?
They have to pick a
Well,
quarterback.
either that
I
or
wanted them to take Penix last year.
you want them to take what?
I picked them. I told them to take Penix last year.
Uh,
Remember my mock draft? I said they probably won't, but they should take Michael Penix here at this pick. I said, but chances are they won't do that.
well, there you go. There you go.
So now they're in a position where they have to take a quarterback. They have no choice.
Well, let me just ask this quick question and try to keep it to a short yes or no. Will the brain trust be the same for the Giants next year?
No. No.
There you go.
One of them or both of them is going to go. And I'll tell you the truth, I think Dayball saved his job. I think the GM is on his way out.
So that win saved Daboll's job, eh?
I think so.
Well,
I think the players like him too. I do.
okay.
Yeah. I could be wrong, but that's how I'm feeling. That's how I see things. So
at least one good
see what
year.
happens. Now, oh, you know what? Let's get this Saquon thing out of the way, okay? So these Eagles fans are cracking me up with how passionate they are about their opinions. And there are several opinions on this thing as to whether Saquon should go after Eric Dickerson's record or not. They've also manufactured a lot of hate for Eric Dickerson. Now, think about this, Barry. You've been playing football all your life. You're a star football player. You're great with nothing but greatness ahead of you. You make it to the pinnacle. You make it to the NFL. You have a tremendous career. You set a record, an all-time record that stood for 40 years. You're in the Hall of Fame, and somebody gets close to your record. You want them to break it?
No.
Exactly. Exactly. People are hating Eric Dickerson because he selfishly, what the hell, doesn't want his record to be broken.
How long has that record stood, Benny?
They said 40 years.
Half those people weren't even around.
That's right.
But Eric Dickerson was doing his thing.
That's right. They need to stop and think about all the running backs between then and now and how that record has survived. That's a great record. If he breaks it, or if he was going to be able to break it, it would have been a great feat. And if you think that he deserves a chance to get that great feat, I'll give you that. But don't hate on Eric Dickerson for not wanting him to get it. That's crazy.
Well, I haven't heard a bunch of that, but what I did hear, and it was kind of split down the middle, Benny, was that those who played football, those who wore pads, said go for the record because
Right.
it's bigger than just him. That would be a team record. His offensive line takes pride in that. His entire team really wants him to go get it. I do believe AJ even said go get the record. It's a franchise record that'll be with that franchise ad infinitum. Who knows how, if the previous record stood for 40 years, who knows how long this record was.
Exactly.
And I forget, there were some other names that he was below that he would jump in front of if he took over the number one place, like LaDainian Tomlinson.
And Barry Sanders.
Barry Sanders.
Yes.
He would skip over a number of very laudable running backs, if he were able to accomplish this. And like I said, we'll call them the civilians, those who did not wear pads versus, the players. And the civilians are all pretty much, sit them. And the players will know, play them. You and I played. I don't know about you. I'm like, play them. You can't be afraid of getting hurt. That, and he's.
That's the first thing people said. That played the game. You never have an impending game coming up and think, well, maybe I shouldn't play because I might get hurt. Nobody thinks like that.
Nobody thinks like that. And
Not no real competitor.
to be quite honest with you, Saquon Barkley at this point in his career, unlike earlier where he was getting injured here and there, I think he's stronger, faster, and quicker than when he first came into the league, which means he's stronger, faster, and quicker than pretty much everybody who's chasing him from other teams. And so, the potential for him to get hurt is a lot reduced.
Yeah.
He played all of these games, he hasn't really gotten hurt, so I'm like, go for it.
Even in his best years with the Giants before he sustained a serious knee injury, he stayed pretty nicked up because they weren't blocking really well for him. So he had all kinds of little things going on. Then after he got the knee injury, the first year back, as normal, he didn't seem to be himself. But that second year, he really showed up. Even with poor blocking, he had a pretty good season. He showed that he was who he was supposed to be, but not enough for them to want to pay him. And also, that came up during the time when the whole devaluation of the running back position was going on. So he kind of fell victim to that. But right now, I mean, he barely gets hit in Eagles games. He's taken like normal tackles. He hasn't been blasted that I can remember. And on his breakaway runs, he ain't even really breaking tackles. He's running by people. He's breaking their arms if they try to grab. So he's about as healthy as he's ever going to be.
He don't even need to be facing you to jump over you. He can jump over you backwards.
Unbelievable.
So, all right, well, we both agree on that one. So, let Saquon run is the theme of this particular show. All right, who are we up with next, Benny? We have the 5-11 Saints, those weird Saints, at the Buccaneers, who are 9-7. Speaking of 9-7, there's a bias plus score of 9.7 favoring the Buccaneers here, Benny.
Okay. Let's see what we got for them. I ain't got no whole bunch to say about the Saints. Their rookie quarterback, Spencer Rattler, started his 5th game of his career, and he remains winless as a starter after falling victim to the Las Vegas Raiders. He did throw 1 touchdown pass. He also threw 1 interception. He had receivers dropping passes, and his offensive line failed to protect him. They were also penalized 10 times for 85 yards and were completely dominated on the clock. After an embarrassing 28-26 loss to Dallas in Week 16, the Buccaneers showed off in front of their own fans, and they had them firing the cannons all day long as they waxed the Panthers 48-14. A win over the Saints next week should clinch them a spot, if they beat the Saints, they will clinch a spot, and most likely they'll secure the division championship. I'm not sure. There's so many different scenarios going on, but I think the Buccaneers pretty much have their own fate in their own hands. So I'm going to go with the Buccaneers to win that game.
Going with the bias, going with the Buccaneers, and I'm sure Desi was happy about that game. Right?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Next up, Texans 9-7 at Titans 3-13. The bias plus score 14.6 favors the Texans. Lots of questions about CJ Stroud, Benny.
Yeah.
I watched a gentleman who is a quarterback. I don't know if he was a trainer, I think he was. He was talking about CJ. He says he thinks CJ, because apparently the line wasn't that great or whatever, he was getting some pressure, that he's feeling pressure when it's not even there. He's rushing a little bit. He feels as if he just slows himself down a little bit, he can become a lot more efficient like he was last year.
Okay, that's the coach's job. They have to sit him down and they have to discuss this. They have to look at some film and try to show him, this is what you did on this play. It looks like you were rushed. This is what the rush actually looked like. Okay, you have to feel the rush. They tell little leaguers this. You have to feel the rush. You can't look at the rush. All those things. That's part of coaching. That's the coordinator's job. to get him to settle down. And it's not like he never did it before.
Yeah.
We've seen him be really on point just last season.
Yep.
So whatever's going on, they may be able to fix it, but they got more than him to fix. That's for sure. They're looking a little shaky right now. Let's see, the Titans are going to be home. Obviously, they're eliminated. They lost to the Jaguars last week. That's 5 games in a row that they lost, and 7 out of their last 8. So the Titans are pretty much done for. Now, the Texans defense got ravaged in front of their home crowd by the Baltimore Ravens. They look severely overmatched on the ground. That's what I'm saying. It's a little bit more than CJ. But because they won the AFC South, they will have some time to hopefully get their defensive schemes figured out. They'll get the first round bye since they won their division. But they're going to have to put some work in. Let's see how they handle the Titans this week, although that won't be a big task for them. But I need to see some improvement from that defense and see CJ settle down a bit. Otherwise, they better enjoy that bye week, because the very next week they could be in trouble with whoever they end up having to play. That being said, though, the Titans won't be much of a match for them. I'm going to take the Texans.
All right.
In fact, they may actually sit people too.
Really?
Yeah, they clinched the division. They got the bye already. They got nothing to play for. Nobody can catch them in their division. They're pretty much locked in, as far as I know, unless I'm missing something. So it's possible that they sit some people. In fact, I was looking at some fantasy projections, and they have Nico Collins and Joe Mixon ranked very low, or projected to score very few points, which means to me that they may start, but they may pull them at halftime.
Yeah. And
but the Titans still won't beat them.
As far as CJ's concerned, I do wonder if he's still having some negative impact from Tank Dell's injury.
Yeah, he took that pretty bad, man.
He took that. He's like, that's my best friend right there. So,
yeah, and it was ugly too. His kneecap was like someplace it wasn't supposed to be.
Don't talk about that. My kneecap has been trying to do that all week or last minute.
Well, yeah. I won't cry though.
Yeah, no, I know you won't. My kneecap.
Yeah, man, you didn't have to say it like that.
I was gonna say, my kneecap is probably somewhere at least a little bit better than your kneecap.
I know, and my good knee's starting to hurt. That's why I know the weather's about to change.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's the weather. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, when your good knee starts acting up, then you're like, I ain't got but 2. Oh my goodness. What am I do now?
Okay. All right, you going with the bias, going with the Texans.
Yes, sir.
Ooh, nothing but Sunday games, Benny. Sunday games. And we have another division matchup with my beloved 6-9 49ers.
Oof.
At the Cardinals, 7-9. And the bias will score 1.4
for the Cardinals.
And this is what I tell people. I say, look, I don't make these numbers up. I just got to go along with them.
Yeah, it's a sad state of affairs for your team right now, bro. And
well, my Niners are ranked 19th in net points, and the Cardinals are ranked 15th. They're minus 0.1 net points, and we're minus 1.5. So we've got the 13th ranked offense. They've got the 14th ranked defense. We've got the 22nd ranked defense, and they have the 15th ranked offense. And it's probably my defense that I'm just most about. I'll be quite honest with you. I'm one of those people that thought Purdy cost himself some money in the last few games here. And I actually did a little bit of a study, Ben, just to kind of see how height impacts players. And I'm not finished the research yet, but when I took a look at the height of the starting quarterbacks, you got Trevor Lawrence and Justin Herbert coming in at 6'6". Kirk Cousins 6'3". Aaron Rodgers is 6'2". Geno's
Yeah.
6'3". Matt Stafford 6'2". Tyrod Taylor 6'1". And then you get down into, well, Derek Carr is 6'3".
Mm-hmm.
So once you get down into the 6'2" and below, I just think it's a tougher game. Not to say it can't be done. Drew Brees did it, you know,
Right.
but it's just a tougher game. And Purdy, I believe, okay, as you start to talk about contracts for Purdy, you need a team around him. You definitely need your offensive line to be upgraded. Hopefully,
Oh, that's yeah.
get off his butt and handle that. I shouldn't say Shanahan. I guess I should talk about the GM.
Oh,
Uh,
Lynch.
Lynch in terms of that. Yeah, yeah, that's what I mean. Everything else will fall into place, I believe, if they get their line together because we're a run first team. So, and I'll be quite honest with you, doing a little research, Benny, because we give up a lot of double digit leads. Uh we've done it in Super Bowls and other things. And so the question came up in terms of Shanahan.
Mm,
I think we're one of those teams that script plays in the beginning.
yeah.
So the question is Shanahan a great play designer, but maybe not a great game day play caller? Because when we played Detroit and we abandoned the run, I'm like, why? Why are you? They ain't really stopped the run. You got backups in there, and you don't want to give the ball back to this particular offense because these boys got tricks in the bag for sure. And they stopped running the ball. And that can't help Purdy. And we got running backs. So I don't know. And again, I don't like the use of Debo. I don't think Debo should be returning punts and kicks and all of that. You got running backs that can run all of those things he runs. So, but apparently people don't believe in Debo as a pure receiver. I actually do. I think that he can be he's a good receiver. Maybe not the greatest. He might not be Jefferson or nothing like that, but I believe Debo's a good receiver, a very good receiver. So 6-9, 7-9. When I looked at the numbers, the bottom line is both of these teams are on the negative in terms of net points. So neither one of them is much to write home about at this particular point. The Cardinals, however, when we looked at it, again, just a minor, slight bit better in terms of net points, and actually tied in terms of turnover differential. So that didn't flow in terms of either one of them. So there you go. That's how we got to where we are relative to that. So there you go.
Well, I'm kind of just real quick on what you said. Um, I believe in Purdy. I don't think Purdy has cost himself any money at all, to tell you the truth. I believe that, and I believe he hasn't cost himself money, and I don't believe that the Niners brass are looking at it that way. I believe that they believe that fixing the offensive line is priority number one, and that everything will be fine after that. So,
Question is, can you pay him top dollar and do that?
well, it depends on what you call on top dollar. Are we talking about top dollar like number 3 in the league? Are we talking top dollar like fifth, sixth, or seventh highest paid quarterback in the league?
Well, what's the fifth, sixth, seventh player or quarterback getting paid? 30, 40?
Probably high 30s to
Okay.
40.
I can see 30 or 40 for him easily.
Well, I think that's where he's going to come in.
I got no problem with that. And I think
somewhere around 40.
all things considered, he should give the team home field, advantage or
Yeah. I mean, they got a lot of problems, and it's a lot for a quarterback to kind of try to overcome. And he's made some mistakes and he's had some problems, but I think he handled himself pretty well considering. The defense is severely injured. And when your offensive line, especially the type of offense that they run, if your offensive line isn't top notch, you're not going to get far. And when they are top notch, you will get to the Super Bowl. So that's the kind of team that they are. I believe they think that's the kind of team that they are. that's the way I see them going after this thing. But anyway, as far as this game is concerned, last week both these teams, the Niners and the Cardinals, put up quite a fight in their games. The Cardinals actually fought tooth and nail with the Rams last weekend. They put together several impressive drives, and the defense showed up big time, but they had a lot of mistakes, and they had a little bad luck, and it prevented them from finding the end zone often enough to actually pull out the victory. In fact, they kicked some field goals, and their only touchdown, strange as this sounds, was by Trey McBride. And it happened to be his first touchdown of the season. And he's like a tip-top tight end in the league right now. This kid's got to be arguably top 3 tight end in the league, and didn't have any touchdowns up to last week when he got his first one. As far as the Niners are concerned, the offense matched the Lions blow for blow, and they held on to the lead, especially in the first half, and they held on to the lead until the end of the third quarter before the Lions actually got with them. But the difference was 2 Brock Purdy interceptions. Now that might have cost them a little bit of money. They missed 2 field goals, and the running game was not up to par. Again, a lot of that can be attributed to the offensive line. And their defense couldn't slow the Lions down at all. They had nothing for the Lions offense. So that doomed them to defeat 40-34. However, this is a tough one to call, actually. Wow. This game, well, I give it a little bit.
And it's a tough game to matchup.
Yeah, this is a tough game to call. This is an important game for both these teams and most of the players on these 2 teams. Winning this game is wow.
And I don't know me, man. I don't know if Purdy's playing because Purdy's been injured. He hurt his arm.
Does that mean we're going to see
Dobbs?
The Pasternak?
They're going to call him the Pasternak.
I heard that. And he's not an astronaut. He's a rocket scientist. But somebody called him the Pasternak. Anyway, oh my God, Josh Dobbs to the rescue. Well, I haven't heard anything about Kyler Murray not playing. So I think at this point in time right now, I like the Cardinals defense a little bit better. So I'm going to pick the Cardinals in this one. It's a tough one for me. Yeah, I usually go with the Niners no matter what. But they let me down.
Cardinals will run the ball a little more consistently than what my Niners did.
Oh, by the way, Connor's hurt. John Connor's hurt.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But Trey Benson, his backup, he's not bad, and he hasn't got a lot of opportunity. So I'm looking for a big game from him.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Cardinals in this one.
All right. Going with the Cardinals over my beloved 49ers. Going with the bias. Woo! All right. Now, this would be I don't know if this is going to be a good game because, again, the Chiefs have locked everything up. But they are visiting at 15-1 the Broncos, who are 9-7, and the bias plus score of 1.3 favors the Chiefs. 1.3 betting. Now, that's a small bias for such a big difference in the win-loss. But the bottom line is we know that the Chiefs have not been winning by large margins. I mean, that's the bottom line with that. They've been winning, just not by large margins. They're 8th in net points, and the Broncos are 11th in net points. That's a difference between plus 6.1 and plus 4.8. So the 11th ranked offense of the Chiefs is going to go visit the 5th ranked defense of the Broncos, and the second ranked defense of the Chiefs is going to go up against the 10th ranked offense of the Broncos. Seems as if the net points should be a lot different, but you got 2 good defenses here, and that's what's keeping everything kind of close. And let me see here. What was that? Ah, yes. Turnover differential once again, and this doesn't happen too often. Tied. So
Oh,
the
okay.
turnover differential does not make a big difference in this one. 1.3 favors the Chiefs.
Well, sir, I haven't heard any official word as to whether Patrick Mahomes is going to play in this game or not. Obviously, the Chiefs have everything locked up: division, number one seed in the AFC, home field advantage throughout, buying the first round, all the marbles. Okay. So there's really no reason for him to play. However, they've been starting to get some injured players back over the last couple of weeks. And a couple of them has shown that, yes, they are in fact back and look pretty good. So there's a possibility that a lot of those guys may at least start the game before they slowly start to sit people. The Broncos, however, have not clinched yet. As good a season as they're having, they're still in the hunt. So remember what I said last week. In the hunt means if the playoffs were to start today, they would be in, but it has not been finalized. So they got to go all out. I see it. I see a possible chance for the Broncos to win this game outright, especially if Mahomes doesn't play at all. And if in fact, even if Mahomes starts and most of the starters start, if they don't play the entire game, I believe the Broncos will be able to overcome any score that they might put up and end up winning this game because they got to have it. Sean Payton's going to pull out all the stops. And if Bo Nix can play as well as he's been playing for most of the season, not all of the season, he's had some problems, but he's been, for the most part, far better than most people thought he was going to be. I believe the Broncos will win this game. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Broncos on this one.
All right, going against the bias, going with the Broncos over the Chiefs, especially if they start sitting people. Yeah, man, that makes a difference. Another division, NFC Wild Wild West. Seahawks 9-7 at Rams 10-6, and the bias plus score of 2.2 favors the Rams. Benny.
Yeah, I really like the Rams. And I think the Seahawks are starting to unravel a little bit. They defeated the Bears last Friday to keep their chances of making the playoffs alive. But then they also needed the Cardinals to beat the Rams, I think the next day, Saturday or Sunday, I forget which day they played. And that didn't happen. And that meant that the Seahawks were eliminated. So, yes, the Rams beat the Cardinals. Now they're closing in on the NFC West crown. They could have it before playing their game this weekend with the Seahawks. Oh, yeah, before playing the game with the Seahawks. If a certain combination of wins or ties come from a certain combination of teams. And I say certain combination because I read it. And after I read it, I was like, I'm not writing this stuff down. But basically, there's three teams. If two of the three win or tie, then they'll be in. If they don't, then it could go the other way. It's all the Rams got to do is win this game, and I believe they'll do that. I think the Seahawks are about to pack it in.
So you're favoring the Rams here?
Yes, sir.
Going with the bias, going with the Rams. Yeah, I do believe the Rams lead are running this division right now. So it is what it is. Chargers 10-6. Raiders 4-12. Got that top tight end, Brock Bowers, running around creating problems. The bias plus score of 18.7 favors the Chargers. Woo.
You know what? The Chargers clinched. Um, I'm not sure if a win or a loss will change their position any, but I think that Harbaugh is going to want to kind of ride the wave here a little bit and play everybody. So the chance of the Raiders catching a team that's, maybe not 100% because they've taken people out, I don't think that's going to happen in this one. Oh, geez, I already picked the winner before I said anything. Let me do this. The Chargers made the long trip to New England, and they earned a playoff spot with a crushing 40-7 defeat of the Patriots. So West Coast to East Coast meant nothing to them. And I think I mentioned earlier, the Patriots could possibly have the worst roster in the league. And boy, did they look like it, losing to the Chargers 40-7. Justin Herbert looked pretty good, threw for 281, 3 touchdowns, and he became the third quarterback. Oh, here's a who would have thunk it. He became the third quarterback in NFL history to pass for at least 3,000 yards and 20 touchdowns in each of his first 5 seasons. I'm not even going to ask you to guess who the other two guys that have done that are. There's only 2 other people that have done that. First 5 years of their career, over 3,000 yards and 20 touchdowns.
Peyton Manning?
That's one.
Uh-oh. I'm scared now.
You won't get the other one.
I won't get the other one.
Now I'll give you 2 guesses.
Isn't some guy from the past
No, this guy's still playing.
still playing?
Yeah, now you should get it now.
Oh my goodness, he's still playing? Aaron Rodgers?
Nope. Try one more.
Huh?
That's who I would have guessed, but no, that's not it.
All right, Joe, give it to me.
Give it to you. Russell Wilson.
Oh man.
Remember how Russell started out, man? He
Russell was on fire coming out.
was on fire early on. Yeah, they went to 2 Super Bowls, remember?
Let Russ cook.
Yep, they was letting him cook.
Let Russ
So, yep, so that's good for Herbert. Now, the Raiders, this is a crazy story. The Raiders were preparing to travel to New Orleans on Saturday. So they were going to get on a plane Saturday, probably Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, fly down to New Orleans, get checked into their hotel, get therapy, get some weight training in, maybe have some meetings, walkthroughs. Well, their flights got delayed. I don't know why. So bad that they sent most of the players back home.
really?
Yes. Now, they didn't actually arrive at their hotel in New Orleans until after midnight. So it was well after midnight by the time they got all settled in and everything. And they had a 1 o'clock game that afternoon. That being said, they showed no ill effects as they went after the Saints hard and fast. And they rocked them boys 25-10. Rookie tight end Brock Bowers, who you spoke of, had 7 receptions for 77 yards, giving him, this guy's a rookie, 108 receptions and 1,144 receiving yards for the season. Those numbers broke 3 records.
Wow.
He broke Mike Ditka's receiving yards record for rookie tight ends. He broke Puka Nakua's record for receptions by a rookie at any position, which I think Puka just set last year.
Holy Puka Nakua, are you serious?
Yes. And he broke Darren Waller's franchise record for the Raiders
Wow.
for the most receptions in the season.
Okay.
So that's 3 records he got. Great, but not great enough. The Raiders cannot beat the Chargers. The defense is too tough. I'm going to take the Chargers.
Going with the bias, going with the Chargers. Dolphins 8-8 at Jets 4-12. Bias plus score 5.3 favors the Dolphins. I don't know what the heck Aaron's talking about, man. Aaron don't know if he want to stay, don't know if he want to go.
Oh man, I'm tired of listening to that guy. I really am.
Skip right over.
He's full of crap. He's full of crap. So needing a win over the Browns to keep their playoff hopes alive, and with Tua being injured, the Dolphins had to turn to their backup quarterback, Tyler Huntley. Snoop Huntley. Old Snoop and his teammates got the job done, 20-3. But unfortunately, even if they beat the Jets this weekend, the Broncos hold the Dolphins' fate in their hands. A Denver win over the Chiefs actually eliminates the Dolphins. So I don't know which game comes on first, but if they play first, I'm sure they'll be in the locker room rooting for the Chiefs. The Jets season continues to unravel. They got dominated by the Bills 40-14. Aaron Rodgers looks more and more mediocre every game. He has thrown 499 touchdown passes in his career, and I'm sure he was looking forward to his 500th, but instead he didn't throw any. He got sacked 4 times, giving him okay. So instead of getting his 500th touchdown pass, he got sacked 4 times, giving him the record for the most career sacks. The most career sacks. Of course, if you play long enough, you're going to get a record like that. 568 times he's been sacked in his career. And guess who he passed? It's Tom Brady.
Is it really?
Tom Brady had the record for the most, getting sacked the most in his career. Aaron Rodgers has since taken over that record. The Lions will not win. The Jets will not win this game. The Dolphins will do what they have to do and then let the chips fall where they may, according to what the Broncos do. But they know they have no chance if they don't win their game. I think they'll take care of business.
Well, Benny, I haven't really mentioned, first of all, going with the bias there.
I'm going against the bias. Wait. Oh, I'm sorry. I was giving the Jets the bias. Why would I do that? Going with the bias, going with the Dolphins.
Yeah. It's hard. The Dolphins are such a confusing team. You don't know whether to go with them guys or not. But okay. Niners East getting the favor here. It's Sunday night. After all of that good football, we got to settle in and watch the 14-2 Vikings go meet up with the 13 and how do I have that? 15, 16. I don't know how I did that. Lions. 13.
Yeah, they're both 14-2.
Okay, great. Thank you. Both 14-2 records, but the bias plus of 5.3 favors the Lions.
Boy, this might be the game of the season. I don't know.
No.
We'll see what happens. But so the Vikings swept division rival Green Bay, beat them again last week, running out to a big lead and then fighting off another late Green Bay rally that happened in both games that they played Green Bay, but they won both games. Along the way, Sam Darnold threw for a career high 377 yards. We continued away from him to turn him into a pumpkin, and he continues to play better and better and better. He also threw 3 touchdown passes. Now, Detroit's game against San Francisco last weekend was basically meaningless, but the Lions didn't approach it that way. They played their starters when there was a question as to whether they would hold people out. That's funny. People were questioning Dan Campbell if he would hold people out so that they would be ready for week 18. When do you rest players to get them ready for another regular season game? You ever hear that? I never heard of that.
And Dan Campbell obviously can't hear it either. His ears are closed to that kind of noise.
Right. He said he thought about it for like a breath. And then he's like, no. They played everybody. 2 reasons. Number one, and this is the way it looked, to tell you the truth, was a dress rehearsal for the Minnesota game.
I'm telling you.
And there was word going around in the locker room that a lot of the players that were on the team last year were still salty at the 49ers for knocking them out in the NFC Championship game last week. So that's
little get back.
Little get back does everybody a little good. And the Lions are one of them teams. They ride momentum very, very well. They got that Jordan-esque thing. We're going to find something to make us hate them, and then we're going to use it. And you know what I mean? They seem to be one of them kind of teams. Also, watching them is so much fun because you never know what they're going to pull out of that playbook. But anyway.
That little cross thing where he pitched the ball out to the other guy, he ran down the sideline. You see that?
The hook and lateral?
Yeah, but you see that normally when it's like 2 seconds left and we got to go for something, so we're going to try.
Right. That's what makes this so crazy for them. They'll do plays like that at any time.
Anytime.
At any time. Now, it scares the heck out of their fans too, because, well, especially his penchant for going for it on fourth down. Sometimes they don't even think about it. It's like if the score is like anywhere near this and we're on X yard line, we're going.
Going, yeah.
You know, it's like their minds are already made up. The offense doesn't even turn around and look to the sideline. They know they're staying out there. It's great.
When you know that, you can do things that make a lot more sense, like call 2 plays in the huddle. You know, you can go for it. Like, we don't get it, we're going for it. So here's your play. Just run right back up to the line, you know, before the defense, can even get set. So,
right.
Yeah, when you know what you're going to do. But those guys are fun to watch, man. That's a heck of an offense.
So they came into the game against San Fran loaded for bear. San Fran actually gave them a game, especially in the first half. They were going TD for TD. But as in most cases, the team that held on to the ball the most with the more consistent ground game and turned it over the least came out on top, and that, in fact, was the Lions. The winner of this game between the Lions and the Lions and the Vikings will win the NFC North crown, hold the number 1 seed in the conference, get a first round bye, and home field advantage throughout. That's huge. The crazier thing is the team that loses this game could possibly drop as low as 5th or 6th seed in the NFC. So they're going to be on the road big time. And we talked about this early on, which of these teams is better suited to handle a long road trip. Well, I say a postseason road trip or a couple of postseason road trips. And believe me, neither one of these teams scares me as far as having to go on the road and win games. I think they can both do it. They've both done it during the regular season. And there are some Super Bowl teams. Matter of fact, I saw the list. There are at least 6 to 8 Super Bowl teams that took the road the entire postseason and ended up winning it all. My Giants were one of them back in 2011. So it can be done. And these 2 teams are strong enough to do it. So the losers of this game is not necessarily doomed.
Not necessarily doomed, but definitely a harder road to hoe. No doubt.
That's true. Now, who am I going to pick? Jeez. Who's got the bias? The Lions, right?
Lions. Number 1 in net points.
All right. One more time. B-Flow got something for him.
No, you're not. No, you are not.
B-Flow got something for him. You know how the Lions are always coming out with these new plays every week. You're going, oh, no, they didn't just run that. Where'd that play come from? I think B-Flow been holding back. I think he's got something they haven't seen. Some kind of blitz package, something. He's been waiting for this game. I'm going with the Vikings.
Going against the bias, going with the Vikings.
Call me crazy.
I'm going to tell you what I saw relative to the Vikings defense. And we'll keep an eye to see if not the Lions use this tactic. And that was the hurry up. The hurry up seems to throw that Vikings defense off. You can come up with all the packages you want. But if all of a sudden these boys is at the line of scrimmage about to snap the ball, everybody's, trying to get in place and figure out, okay, we're supposed to be doing this. That seems to throw that defense off. We'll see if the Lions employ the hurry up on them. I think they just might, because that offensive coordinator is on top of things over there in Detroit, man. I'm telling you, he's on top.
Oh, no question.
So you got a top offensive coordinator and a top defensive coordinator going at it. So should be a great game. I'm looking forward to this. All right, Benny. That wraps up the regular season for the NFL 2024-2025 NFL regular season games, Benny. And it leaves just one gigantic piece of business.
Gigantic?
Gigantic. One extraordinary piece of business that we have to take care of. And there will only be one more after this for the next week when we.
Can I guess who it is?
Sure, go ahead.
The Giants.
So Ben's guessing that the Bias Plus Buster of the Week would be the New York Football Giants.
Oh,
No, Benny, it's that Las Vegas Raiders at 24.9.
that's okay. That's okay. I'll give it to him. I'll give it to him. Antonio Pierce said, man, we ain't worrying about no draft. We're trying to win games. We're out here winning games.
Man, that was a tough. But Benny, before we go, I do want to just real quick jump over to our social media page, Ben and Barry on Football, and just take a quick look at it because there's a few things on there that I just wanted to kind of mention. I thought they were of note and of interest and of up for discussion. Let's put it that way. Just scroll down real quick. I mentioned that Cliff Kingsbury was still getting paid by Arizona. So that article is on our page. Here's that schedule because they updated it and when they flexed things out. So we did have that up here. Here's the value of a running back, Benny. I thought this was an interesting post because these are all running backs who got traded. And with their new teams, they are seeing unprecedented success. David Montgomery, Bears 4-12.
Yes.
Now 14-2.
Major.
Now 13-3. Henry 11-5. Both of those
expected.
And Josh Jacobs, the Raiders. That Josh Jacobs is a little beast, man.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, that guy.
When you posted that, he's a little beast. Did you see my comment?
Yeah.
just to put that a little in the context for you.
I'm telling you.
He's a half an inch taller than me and 2 pounds lighter.
2 pounds lighter. So I'm telling you. And then you got your rookies, Benny. Number 1, Giants. Malik Neighbors. What a great surprise that guy's been, man.
Bruh. When they get a quarterback, it's over. He can't be covered. I'm sorry.
He is amazing. Brock Bowers, tight end for the Raiders, just having a great year. Lad McConkey.
Yes.
You keep hearing that name, even watching the chart, keeping Lad McConkey here, Lad McConkey. You're like, who the heck is Lad McConkey? And Brian Thomas Jr. Now that's
LSU.
That's one of your fantasy picks, right, Benny?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. One of the rare guys who's putting up huge numbers on a terrible team.
Absolutely.
Another guy. I tell you what, if you got Neighbors or Thomas on your team and the rest of your team's pretty good, you probably had a good chance of winning a championship or getting to a championship in fantasy because they were very consistent putting up big numbers.
Yeah.
And they both went to LSU. LSU is wide receiver university.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Zach Ertz, Benny.
Yeah.
His game-winning catch, wild card spot, and being his 6th TD catch of the season, earned him a $250K bonus.
Nice.
That catch. Another $250K for going over 600 receiving yards.
Nice.
$250K for catching 60+ passes. That's $750,000 all accomplished on one night.
That's a new car for the wife. New car for the wife and a European vacation.
There you go. There you go. And then, well, this is a nice little story. I'm going to leave this for the people to go visit our page. Buffalo Bills rookie Ray Davis.
Oh, about Ray Davis.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
nice story, somebody who really saved him as a youth, and he was able uh, to go ahead and thank him for that. And again, the intriguing game of the week. It was the two young quarterbacks, not rookie, but the two young quarterbacks that I saw going on. One's a rookie, and the other one's second year. But I thought that was a great game, man. Now, Benny, we're going to close this out, but I do need you to explain something to me. What the heck happened to Oregon this weekend?
I'm glad you brought that up. First of all, as everybody can see, I got my Penn State sweatshirt on.
I see you.
This was a Christmas present. I went to
Okay.
Penn State for a year. I enjoyed myself tremendously up there. I got on the freshman football team and got my knee ripped to shreds. But I like Penn State. They won a good game against SMU, and then they won again. Now I believe they get the winner of the game today. What time is it? The game might be on now because they canceled it because of the tragedy in New Orleans.
Oh, right, exactly.
Yeah, the Georgia Notre Dame. So the winner of that game gets Penn State for the semifinals of the national championship. So they got this far. I got to keep rooting for them. I'll tell you the truth. I don't know if Notre Dame can beat. It's on now?
Georgia Notre Dame, yeah.
I don't know if Notre Dame can beat Georgia, but if they do, I definitely like Penn State to beat Notre Dame.
Okay.
Now, if Georgia wins, I don't know. Okay. One saving grace is the Georgia's starting quarterback is hurt. So they're going with a backup. But the backup's actually played well. So we'll have to wait and see.
It's like going from what's his name? Quarterback for the Miami Dolphins now.
Two going to Snoop.
Yeah, going then. Yeah.
Well, we'll see. But
yeah, got this other guy named Tua. We want to stick in.
Oregon, man, undefeated, destroying everybody, and then they just go in the tank. Oh God, people were busting on them, man. Somebody put on the timeline, Oregon.
Oh my goodness!
I think Blade did that.
Yeah, it could be.
Oregon.
I can see Blade doing that something.
Yeah.
Man, I popped over to the channel. I'm like, what? I'm looking for a game here, man. It's done. It's a done deal. Sheesh.
Best uniforms in the business, but couldn't get it done.
Could not get it done. All right. I think that's all that I have, Benny, for right now. I got some things that I'm planning for as we move outside of the regular season, and we might have a little more time during some of our shows since we won't have as many games once we get into the postseason. And once we get past the postseason, we'll be looking for content. So I got things going on. But I do want to begin to focus on our coordinators as we go into the playoffs, because you mentioned, for example, the Lions, the Vikings, that coordinator battle between the OC of the Lions and the DC of the Vikings, man. And let me tell you, I don't think the DC of the Lions is to sneeze at, because he's getting a lot out of a whole bunch of guys who ain't started.
He's doing a bang-up job.
Absolutely.
Bang-up job.
Absolutely.
Aaron Glenn. Yeah,
that's right.
And this is the time of year when these teams that are already eliminated, their head coaches on the hot seat and might be looking for new. This is the time when these coordinators' names start popping up for head coaching jobs. I know the Bears are after the Lions OC big time, and the word is that he's interested in Chicago. I don't know if he's from there or has some kind of ties there. But if that happens, I will not be surprised.
Okay. Well, we'll keep an eye out on that. Wow.
Yeah.
All right, Benny, that wraps it up for me. You got anything more?
I'm all done.
All right. This is Ben and Barry on football. You can find us at www.benandbarryonfootball. Let me remind everybody, please click that subscribe button. We need the followers. And click the like button and leave us any comments on the show. All right? P-Funk.
Go Giants.